Hello! We're here at Peach Hill Soils with Robert Medrano today. And he is going to show us how to build a stone raised bed garden.
Thank you, Diana, for coming by today. It's an honor to have you here. And it's my pleasure to share some of my experiences with you on how to build some garden boxes out of natural stone. The first step in building a garden box is to have the right area. Make sure it's nice and sunny, it's level, most importantly that it's convenient for you to get to and to visit your garden. One of the things I'm going to show you here now is constructing a garden box out of natural stone. It's very easy when you're using this particular type of rock. Because it's so angular, it's easy to stack. So I'm going to show Diana and show everyone there how to build this wall. It's pretty simple. Start with a couple of nice stones, something that fits in your hand, something that's not going to move around very easily, and start stacking it.
And it's pretty. Well, that is easy. I love it.
It's pretty easy and it's pretty durable as well. You can go as high as you want. Typically it's about 2 to 3 feet in height, 8 feet long, 4 feet wide. That's a pretty standard garden box that you could probably, that garden box would support about 8 plants. Some chilies, some tomatoes, some onions, things like that. And that'll feed a family of about 3 to 4 people, as you know. So that's one way to construct a box. Of course, there's other typical ways of using the 2x4s or 2x8s and constructing a wooden box out of redwood. That's also very efficient and lasts a long time as well.
Thank you. So we're going to start and make a perfect place for our new garden. And we want to have a level garden space.
That's correct. In some places you don't have a perfect level area. So I recommend this gravel that's behind us here. This is called the 3/8 crushed Pacific Coast gravel. Really good for leveling, for compacting before we build our garden box. It's going to give you a nice level surface. It's also going to offer some drainage too. That's where you would want to begin before you start any of the other steps.
I love it. Oh, that was great. So what's next?
So now we've determined the area that we're going to construct our garden box on. It's nice and level with our leveling rock. We have some water close by, so it's convenient to water and visit our garden. Now we have to talk about the ground below. Before we construct our garden box, we have to protect our valuable vegetables that we put so much time and effort into against gophers. I recommend chicken wire down below the ground, at the ground level there. You could staple that to the bottom of your garden box, or you can apply that down before you construct your garden box. It's going to give you years of protection against gophers and moles, things that are underground that are going to want to burrow through and eat your vegetables that you've worked so hard to grow. After we've done all that, we've protected the box, we have our water, our area's level, we have all the things that are going to make this successful. Now we move into a rock that's going to be around the garden area. Something that'll keep our feet dry when we're watering, something that's easy to walk on, something that's going to suppress the weeds and also look really nice. The rock behind us is what we call a natural pea gravel. You could walk on that barefooted. And at a distance of about, at a thickness of about 2 inches, it's going to take 1 cubic yard for every 150 square feet. That's good information you're going to need to know when you go to measure your area. This is the most popular rock for that purpose. There are other rocks available. This is the most practical and inexpensive.
And it's pretty too.
Very good looking rock, absolutely, very decorative.
So what about handicapped folks and folks that, their backs are hurting?
Right, good question. So I recommend for that purpose these old avocado boxes. They're about 3 feet in height. They're considered wheelchair accessible. Also, you don't have to bend over as far when you're harvesting your vegetables. These boxes have been used for avocado farming and harvesting in the past. Now with technology and whatnot, they moved to much sturdier plastic containers, which made these boxes obsolete. and there's literally thousands of them available. So I had one of the local farms contact me and asked me if I would be interested in these boxes. My first thought was, what a perfect garden box. They're easy to lift, there's drainage at the bottom, they're still pretty sturdy, and I like the looks of them, being a rustic look like that. So this is another option for our handicap friends. It's the right height for wheelchairs, and also with people with bad backs. Not to mention young kids that can easily reach right across and get to the vegetables.
Nice, I love it. Well, now, can't we have container gardens on balconies and patios and condominiums?
Great question, Diana. Absolutely. You could grow tomato plants in 5-gallon buckets, 15-gallon buckets, just about anything that has drainage and can hold up to 5 gallons of soil. That's pretty much what you need to support a vegetable plant. So people in condominiums and patios, like you mentioned, easily grow in containers. I've grown tomatoes, chilies, all kinds of different things in containers. It's not you don't necessarily need large areas or large boxes to grow in. What's nice about container growing too, for some of those really hot days or some of the really cold nights, it's easy to pick up the container and protect it. Protect your plant from the elements.
Absolutely, I love that. Well, now that we've leveled our beds with the gravel and we've built or decided whether we wanted rock or wood, I believe that the secret is in the soil.
That's correct, Diana, absolutely. So what I have to my left here is what we call Panda Mix. We use this to fill vegetable beds. Why? Because of the organic nutrients that we add to this soil. We put about 8 months of research into this soil, formulation, testing, things like that. Some of the ingredients in this rich soil, we add perlite, peat moss, compost, cocoa coir, blood meal, bone meal, worm castings, volcanic rock. It's about 8 to 9 different ingredients to ensure that your plant is going to be a healthy plant and give you a lot of chilies, a lot of tomatoes, a lot of onions, give you nice organic natural growth from your plant.
And you know what? It smells really good.
It does, and that's because it's been composted properly, and it's all natural ingredients. That's why you get some really good smells from this soil. That's how I do my own testing. We do take this to the lab to check the pH, metals, pathogen, nitrogen, things like that. I like to look at it, touch it, feel it, and smell it. That's how I've always done my own testing, so it's got to pass my test as well.
I love it. Well, what about compost or soil amendments?
So soil amendment and compost is also a very beneficial product when it's added to a mix for vegetable gardening. By itself, I wouldn't plant your vegetables in compost directly. It's too hot, too rich. You're going to need a little bit of ingredients, some good drainage, some good soil to sustain the root system of a vegetable plant. What's behind us here is our compost and soil amendment mixed. That's going to be used for rototilling into existing soil to prepare an area before sod, before planting. Also used, as you mentioned earlier, a good top dressing. It'll suppress weeds, continually feed the plants, encourage earthworm activity, and give it a really pretty look too.
It is pretty. It's very pretty.
Here's a visual of what our soil looks like. This is our Panda Mix. I mentioned earlier about the perlite, the peat moss, cocoa coir, all the goodies that are in this soil. Super fluffy, very light, excellent water penetration, which translates into root penetration. Just a super rich organic soil. It's got a little bit of warmth to it that you could feel to the touch. But when you smell this, just very natural aroma, beautiful soil. I've done some trials myself. Through the years, my girls were young. I used to plant veggies into this soil and I had really good results. And when I incorporated my family into the project, my daughters would eat their vegetables because they were proud to grow their own vegetables. So it kind of got my girls to eat the vegetables without too much effort. Not only does this soil look beautiful and is nice and warm to the touch, it smells amazing. It's just got that really nice organic, rich smell to it. Very rich soil, just ready for your vegetable plants. What you see here in my hands is what we call compost or soil amendment. This is something that you're going to want to mix into your existing soil to improve the structure of your soil, improve the nitrogen or the nutrient level in your existing soil, also improve the drainage, invite a lot of earthworm activity. The earthworms do actually eat the finer material that's here. It's just a great addition to your existing soil. We recommend a 3-inch layer that you incorporate into your existing soil before planting.
So now that we've filled our garden beds with rich organic soil, what about the rest of our landscape?
That's a great question. We can't forget about the rest of our landscape and holding in moisture and suppressing weeds and so on. The garden does take some attention, but we can't forget about the rest of it. This is a great product to maintain the weed suppression, the moisture content, the water table in the soil. It serves a couple of purposes. It's going to save water, suppress the weeds, as I mentioned, stop erosion, but give it just a really decorative look. At 2 to 3 inches thick, this product here is called Gorilla Hair. It's going to last about 4 to 5 years in your landscape, so you do get quite a lengthy time out of this material. There are other options that we offer. We have about 7 or 8 different products that you could use to cover the ground to continue the maintenance in your yard.
So this is made with redwood?
This is a redwood and cedar product. Some of the other mulches are eucalyptus. We have some oak mulch. We have some pine mulch. There's some redwood nuggets, some cedar nuggets, quite a few different varieties of ground cover.
Well, so how do you make all these the soil, the mulches, the compost?
Good question. So we're on 132 acres here in Moore Park, and that's really the kind of space that it takes to do this operation at this scale. We have about 80 different products. Out of those 80, we make about 40 of them. Some of the material is imported. Most of it we make ourselves, like the forest mulch and the compost. So what that takes is it takes feedstock, which is our green waste. That's the very beginning stage of the compost and the mulch. People bring in their green waste, not residential green waste. We worry about some of the contaminants that might be in the barrels that people roll out. This is all commercial green waste, tree branches, wood chips, rose cuttings from golf courses, school districts, large community gardens, places like that. When it arrives, we do a visual inspection on it to assure that it's a clean product. Then it goes on a truck scale so that we could weigh the material in, because we have to report this to the county. The county of Ventura likes to keep track of diversion rates. They go on the scale, we do a second inspection. Then they go to the dump site here on the property. We do a third inspection to make sure there isn't anything like painted lumber, metal, glass, trash, railroad ties. Those are some of the things that people try to sneak in here, I think, from time to time, but we're on top of it. We feel that our end product is only as good as the incoming product. Then we grind it, we screen it, we turn it. When the green waste arrives, it's about a 16 to 18 month process before we actually consider it a sellable product. We turn it, as I mentioned, it heats up to about 160 degrees. That'll burn off any pathogen that might be in the material. We then have it analyzed at a local lab. We report our findings and our results to the county health department, and then it's a usable product. Then we can sell it.
You know, Robert, red wiggler worms are the very best soil doctors.
That's exactly right, Diana, and I'm glad you said that. So what I have here in front of me is one of our worm bins. These are red wiggler earthworms. They're making some of the ingredients that we put into our vegetable mix and our panda mix. I mentioned earlier that we have worm castings in our blends, an organic fertilizer for the gardens. What you see here is earthworms feeding inside here. There's some eggs, there's some babies. I see a lot of activity.
Ooh, I see them.
Some good-looking earthworms. What I mean by that is they're nice and fat, they're shiny, and they're very active.
So what about our home gardeners having their own worm bins?
I'm glad you brought that up, Diana. Very easy to do. What I have here in front of me is called canna worms, exactly made especially for composting with worms at home. I'm going to lift this lid off and you're going to see what's underneath here. We have about 1,500 earthworms in this one canna worms. What I'm feeding them right now, because it's easily accessible for me, is horse manure. But We do receive a lot of horse manure here at our facility. You may not have that at your house. So I may suggest that you would feed them banana peels, cantaloupe rinds. I've even fed my worms dryer lint, newspaper, cardboard, just about any fruit or vegetable scrap that you have. Very important though, if the tomato gets too soft or gets rotten in your refrigerator, you don't want to feed that to your earthworms. I like to tell people if you wouldn't eat it, the worms aren't going to eat it. It could be a soft tomato that hasn't gone completely rotten yet. That would be a good material for this. A banana peel, an avocado rind, a cantaloupe rind, as I mentioned. Things like that. Soft material because the earthworms don't have any teeth, but they do have strong mouth muscles. So you want to put in soft material in here that they can consume. You would put a few pieces down underneath here, cover it up with some of the bedding, cover it up, and leave it alone for about 2 weeks, if you can, because I know people want to peek in and see what's going on under there. You do want to visit it at least once or twice a week to check the moisture content. But after about 2 weeks or so, come back, lift the lid, try to find that banana peel, and you'll have a hard time finding that banana peel in 2 weeks. They have consumed that whole banana peel, and they move on to the next piece of fruit. Careful not to overfeed though. You shouldn't have any odors, you shouldn't have any fruit flies. If you do get that, you're feeding them too much. Something to think about. Feel free to call me anytime or visit our website if you have any questions or concerns or problems. I could usually fix it right away.
Well, do you use a coconut coir bedding for them?
That's a good question. Yes, I do. I use coconut coir or I use peat moss. That seems to be the best bedding because it holds in moisture for them. That's their bedding area. Once you put the food on top, they'll come up and eat the food. Also remember they're very light sensitive, so it's nice to cover them back up. You can have them in a sunny area, but just make sure they're covered up. The ideal situation is in a garage, a covered patio, a laundry room, something like that, so they're protected against the high summer heat, the cold in the winter. Just put it in an area that's a little bit protected, and be sure to visit it about once or twice a week.
It's like having your own pet worms.
It really is, but the benefits are amazing. Now you are recycling some of your scraps. You're keeping it out of the landfill. You're putting it to a good use. The best part of it is at the bottom, you retrieve what they call worm castings, which is the second best organic fertilizer there is. First being bat guano, second being worm castings. You then pull those worm castings out, sprinkle it in your vegetable garden, your house plants, your fruit trees, and now the tree is getting organic nitrogen. It strengthens the tree and the plant from the inside out. It guards against pests, disease, things like that. It really is a wonderful material. I believe that everybody should have one.
You sold me. I'm ready. Wow, now that was great. Makes me feel very confident. Thank you.
Of course, and that's what it takes, absolutely. I've been in business now for 40 years. I love what I do. There's so many natural resources in this county of Ventura. I love meeting people like you, Diana, that are involved in community gardens, that's very passionate about organic material. You know a lot of people. My dream is to build this team of people that are into this kind of organic gardening, and let's all help each other. Come visit our site, see the process, take some of the product back with you, and experience the results.
Wonderful. We will do that. It's been a wonderful afternoon here at Peach Hill Soils with Robert Medrano. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Diana.